Welcome to the Refine and Shine, the podcast dedicated to mastering the art of continuous improvement and optimizing every aspect of your life. I'm Angelina Rivera, your host, and together we'll uncover the secrets to refining our lives, our habits, and our processes to unlock our inner brilliance. Join us on Refine and Shine, where we'll delve deep into achieving more in life without the burnout and without all the stress. This podcast is your platform for a more fulfilling life through continuous improvement and personal growth. In each episode, I and a diverse array of guests discuss practical strategies for up-leveling every aspect of your life. From developing good habits and organizing your space to refining your mindset and personal goals, we're going to explore it all. Our guests share personal stories about the systems they've developed or systems they've used and the tweaks they've made in their lives when refinement was needed, allowing them to truly shine. Listen to Refine and Shine to learn how you can implement continuous improvement techniques in your daily routine, develop and maintain healthy habits that lead to success and satisfaction, organize your life to reduce the stress and increase your productivity, foster a growth mindset that propels you to new heights. My mission is to inspire you to take bold action, make positive changes, and become the best version of yourself. Whether you're aiming to elevate your career, nurture meaningful relationships, or enhance your overall well-being, Refine and Shine is your guiding light. With over 25 years of experience in continuous improvement, I help businesses streamline their processes, establish efficient work areas, and implement standard work protocols. I have trained over 600 individuals and teams in process improvement, optimizing workflows, and enhancing overall operational efficiency. Tune in every week as we embark on an enlightening journey, exploring paths to refinement and illuminating the way to shine in every area of our lives. Subscribe now and join us on this journey to polish your life and let your best self shine through. Thank you for joining us on Refine and Shine. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Refine and Shine podcast. I'm super excited today because I always love to have different people on my podcast, and it's all about refining and shining. And when I saw this woman's post, I knew that I had to have her on my podcast. It was something about her that called me into just getting to know her a little bit better. And so I'm so happy to have her here today. My guest today is Jackie Dempsey. She is a certified diesel mechanic, single mom, and the founder of the Mechanic Mama Foundation. With nearly 2 decades of hands-on experience in a male-dominated industry, she's on a mission to empower women and families through practical car care education. As a single mom and a proud tradeswoman, Jackie knows firsthand how powerful knowledge can be. And she's turning her story into a movement to make basic automotive skills accessible, fun, and confidence building for all. I love that so much, Jackie. And as if my listeners can see, right when I read that, they knew I love cars. I love having women in a mechanical background. I worked in production and manufacturing. I'm now on 28 years in the manufacturing world. And so I can totally relate. I've been a manager under different, areas and arenas. And, having those mechanical skills and all the things and the knowledge is so important. And it's really hard when you're a woman in a man's industry, typical man's industry. So I'd love to thank you for being on here today.
Thank you for having me.
And I wanted to know, how did you get into this? And just tell us a little bit about your story and how you got to, did you always love cars, or how did you get to just all the skills that you've learned, basic automotive skills, to become a diesel mechanic, a certified diesel mechanic at that?
Yeah. So, I guess when I was little, Barbies were a big thing for kids, but I would have the Barbies, but then I would take the cars apart, like the Barbie cars. And if anybody knows what the old ones are, they're like plastic and they don't go back together, but I would try my best, I'd drive my mom crazy. And then I always tinkered with stuff when I was little, and I got into cars more as I grew up. It was always my friends and I doing something, dirt bikes, go-karts, that sort of thing. And then when I was old enough to drive, my dad, I got my first truck, and he started teaching me basic things, like this is how you check your tire pressure. This is where you put the oil in. This is how you change your oil. And I was like, what is this whole world that I've never really known, like working on an actual car, and I just fell in love with it. And I told my dad I want to be a mechanic, and he wanted me to go in the army, so I wanted to work on tanks, and I ended up going to Universal Technical Institute for just basic automotive for a year, and that was it for me. Like I was like, I was the only girl in my class, and class being like, almost 200 students. And it was, different classes throughout the day, but I was the only female that was going through the program at the time. And so to me, it was like the best challenge experience that I've ever been presented with. And I just became addicted to learning because nobody wanted me to. And I was so obsessed with, you don't want me here, watch this. And so I would just get more and more in depth of anything I could learn. And I got a job. I worked at parts stores and off-roading shops, fabrication shops, and then I needed money. Growing up, stuff's expensive as I became an adult, so I got a job with Cummins Engine Corporation, and I was working in their parts department. And I realized I really love diesel engines, so I begged them to let me in the shop. And they're like, "Who is this girl? You want to go in the shop? Like, do you realize what we work on? Like, who we are? Like, we're not letting you in the shops." But I was persistent, and I got into the shop, and I just ran with it from there.
I love that. And I can so relate to everything that you're saying. Where you wanted to like break barriers. When people tell you like, no, you can't do this, you're like, okay, watch me. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And I love that, like the off-roading. I'm like everybody will look at me and they're like, "You love off-roading." Like I have a 4x4, and I know that like it's fun. My husband has motorcycles, and he keeps saying, "You got to get on the pit bikes," and I'm like, I am so scared, but I know that I do need to do it one day. Just get on there. But it's all of those things. You want to learn how to make. You want to have fun, but you want to make sure that there's more for you. And I can relate to your story when I worked at the Marine base out in Yermo, the only one of two depot facilities. And when I first started, I started as a secretary, and I took a downgrade, but I became a secretary, and I was like, just to get in the base. And then I was like, wait, I want this, I want that. And they're like, you couldn't be. I worked my way up to a branch head in the trades department, and they're like, you're like, there's very few females. I think that the whole time I was there for 17 years. We only had one other female branch head at my position. Besides me, there was only one other person, and the rest were all males. And so I love that. I love that you're breaking barriers. And I also love like the Cummins engines. I mean, those are one of the vehicles that we had. I forget, I think it was our amphibious assault vehicles had Cummins engines. But so how did you get to the part where like you learned all these things, and what got you to the part where you actually wanted to start your foundation?
So I've been in the industry a long time. Like I believe I started with Cummins in 2007. So right, early 2007. And so that's how long I've been officially, a mechanic. And so, um, over the years, it is rough being a female, and especially like people say, "Oh, it's not that rough." There's laws that prevent people from doing things. Well, people don't care about that, and companies don't care about that a lot of times. And I say that boldly, but it's true. Like I've been there, and I've been at the bottom of I worked union my whole career, and I wasn't catered to. When I found out I was pregnant, and going to my union, my teams, or well, it wasn't Teamsters, but it was the Ironworkers Union, and it was it wasn't a good experience. Nobody knew what to do because I was the only female on the West Coast working for the company, and they didn't know what to do. They were like, "We've never had a pregnant diesel mechanic before," and so it really was not a positive thing. It's all in the past now, but I learned from all of the hardships, and I've seen so many things recently where I'll go into the parts store, and I'll hear the parts guy talking to a lady at the counter and offering her all these things that she doesn't need. And she's sitting there like, "Oh, I'll buy that. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Add that to it. Oh, is it really that much? Okay. But all right, I guess I need it." And, and I always want to just don't do that, and get involved. But I don't want to interfere in other people's business. So I guess the short term of what I'm saying is I started my foundation recently because I'm sick of it. I'm sick of seeing people take advantage of other people. Like there was this little old lady at the dealership once when I went in to buy parts, and I heard them tell her that it would be $1,200 for her throttle body cleaning on her 2022 car, and she had just bought it. She drives it to the grocery store. She was telling the guy, and it's like, okay, she doesn't need that. Like, why are you charging? She's an old lady. Like, it made me so mad, and I just want to be able to help and give back and show that, you know what, the industry is rough, and it sucked a lot for me for a long time, but it really gave me perspective on a lot of things, and I love the history. I love the things that I've worked on. I made a lot of good friends along the way. There's a lot of power behind it too, so I want to be able to show people the good and the bad and the ugly, I guess, of the industry, and help them redefine what they think of when they think of cars, and let's give them the power that maybe they don't realize they have. So that's why I founded it.
I love that. And I think it's so important. Like when, and I can so relate. I know that there has been many a times when I would go to go get my car worked on. Because sometimes like, you know, my husband worked as a heavy mobile equipment mechanic, and my son is a heavy mobile equipment mechanic, a journeyman. But there are times, you know, you're in the mechanical field. Sometimes or as mechanics, you're working 6 days a week, things like that. You don't really want to work on your own car at times, just for like a basic oil change where you have to deposit, you know. And I'm sure like in where we live in Southern California, it's hot on the weekends, or, you know, you're just burnt out. So we go take our car to I'd go take my car to the oil change, and they're like, oh, you need this, 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 and this. And I'm like, no, I don't. Like, oh, your brakes need to be done. Like, no, like my husband will do, or my son will do all those things. And it's like the things that they tell you. And if you don't know, you're going to be like, oh, okay, I guess I need that done.
Mm-hmm.
And you get scared, or you don't know. And so to have that knowledge and be able to help others with that. And I think that's so important, because there's a lot that goes with the car. And there's lots of things that like a light comes up, your check engine light comes on. Okay, what does that mean? It could be a simple code reading error, or, you know, something, your gas cap's not, you know, locked enough, little things like that. But people will take it in and they start to panic. And I just got something. I had a mechanical issue. Um, some it was a rodent or a squirrel or something got into my car and it ate up my engine wires. But when I looked at the labor rate, I'm like, oh my God, $275 an hour. That's crazy. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so to give people the basic knowledges so in your foundation, are you teaching people how to do these, like the basic knowledges, how to change the oil? Like, what do you teach them?
So the way that I am constructing it is I want to start kind of from the ground up. Like, here is your car. Here is how to open your hood. Because there's a lot of people, women and men, that have never even opened their hood before, and it can be overwhelming. Like, okay, well, I see it says hood here, but once I pull that, then what do I do? You know, and those are things that people can get made fun of for. But I really want to structure it so that people feel comfortable being able to learn. Like, it's okay if you don't know. Everybody doesn't know something, and everybody starts somewhere. So let's start from the ground up, and I'm going to help you realize that it's a lot easier than maybe, you know, you think it is. Or if you have long nails, how do I open my hood with long nails? It's still possible. You can still do it. Don't let it be a deterrent, you know. And I'm structuring it in different levels. So if you come in and you take a class from me, I'm not gonna teach you how to open the hood if you don't need to know that, but that's still gonna be an option. There's gonna be different levels of classes that you can take, and it's gonna be structured for basics. So here's the basic of how do you check the air pressure in your tire? How do you read the sidewall on your tire? How do you check if your air filter really is dirty when the shop wants to charge you for it? And how do I check my oil? Like, what do I do when there's no oil? And, you know, and just go over all the basics. Like, this is what oil is. This is how you know what viscosity to use on your vehicle if it's worn off and it doesn't say on there anymore, or if you don't have the owner's manual, or how do you get the owner's manual? Like, there's so many basic things that are so easy to do, especially with technology these days too. And a lot of people have said, well, what do we need you for? We have Chat GPT and we have all these other things. And it's like, yeah, you do. But Chat GPT makes mistakes. And, you can't always rely heavily on what you see on Google. So it's good to know the foundation of what you're looking for when you Google, or what you need to do when you're talking to Chat GPT. And as I get this more developed, I'm also going to have tiered options that are available to people where you can call a mechanic directly. And like if you have an issue and you don't know what to do, you can call someone that is a certified mechanic and talk with them about what you're doing, and how to move forward with it, as well as you can have a text option to text a mechanic any questions that you have, and just really give people the hands-on classes of learning in a structured environment, as well as give them a virtual option that they know they can trust.
I love that. I think it's so important just to know the basics, right? To start from like, putting air in your tire, checking the air pressure of your tire, and all of those things, because it's so important. I remember just the basics when I bought my first car. I wasn't allowed to buy my first car until I could pay for my first car. Like I had to, pay for it, and I had to learn the basics, and how to change a tire. And I will tell you that when we got into a car accident, years later, or a couple years later, we were on the side of the freeway. It was in the middle of the night, and I am so glad
Oh,
I knew how to change that tire, because
yeah.
it's little things like that that make a big impact. Even just putting gas in. I mean, what type of gas do you need? And all of those levels. And if your car goes on, how much gas do you have in your tank once your gas light comes on? If you're in that situation, because some people think you can push it, some people panic. I mean, you got to understand the fundamentals, and
Yeah.
I think that's great. And so, and I love that you also have the virtual. You're going to have the virtual option, and that you're going to have the text mechanic and all of those types of things, because that's so important. I think that a lot of people get so like, I'll just ask AI, I'll ask Chat GPT and all of these things, but you can't take the human. There's still a human part of that, and you need that human part to, because you're right. Chat GPT makes mistakes too. They don't know how to. There's so many things that are like little tips and tricks too that Chat GPT might not know. And luckily, there's support like what you're building that can help people, with the basics. I think that's so important. What is how long have you had this foundation for?
Not very long. I actually launched it a little less than 2 weeks ago. So
Oh,
the
wow.
momentum of it, I think my first post was like June, I think it was the 25th. And then I like honestly I thought, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this, but it's gonna be real slow. I'm gonna really have to get it in front of people and convince them why it's a good idea. But like as soon as I launched it, the momentum was huge, and we're gonna have an ad on the radio already and all kinds of other stuff. And it's just I really love how people are responding to the idea, because it kind of hits home for the fact that this is something that's needed. It's not there. Nobody does it, and I don't know why. I guess maybe it's well. There is a girl in Orange County that runs a smog shop, and she does classes and stuff. But there's people up here that have told me, "Well, I was going to drive to Orange County," and it's like, "Well, no, I didn't get the idea from her. I found out about it after I launched this." But I think it's great that that exists, and I think we should see more of it, because people should feel empowered, and it's not rocket science. You really can do it yourself. You don't have to rely on someone else and have them charge you obscene amounts of money for something that's really simple.
No, I love that. And I also like what you said. I mean, just because somebody also, for, my podcast is listened through all of the United States, the world, and things like that. And so for you, your shop right now, or what your foundation, you're right now targeting the high desert area. So that's in Southern California. But even if it's somebody in Orange County, that's like an hour and a half to two, well, hour and a half if you're lucky, 2 to 3 hour drive away from us. And what I think is so important to people to realize that it doesn't matter when God puts something on your heart, whatever it is, like, it doesn't matter if other people are doing it. It's been put on your heart for a reason. I could have said easily, I'm not going to start a podcast because like 20 of my friends have podcasts. I don't know how many they do, but it's just an example. It felt like I wanted to share people's stories. It's people like you do I want to, when I hear something or see something, it sparks like, hey, let me get their story out there because people may not know about it. And it's another platform to share what you're doing. And I think that's so important. And I love that you're pursuing it. And I love that it's just been a few weeks and all the momentum because I see this. I think that's how I seen it. I saw it, something called out to me, it sparked. And you're even doing a workshop soon, right? On all of this.
Yes. So I am doing, well, the plan was for August 9th, but as I've gotten the word out, I've been networking with a lot of people that are kind of pushing me into much bigger roles than anything that I could have fathomed. I don't want to go too much into detail with it. And it's just me doing it. Like I do, my best friend is part of it and she's kind of behind the scenes. She's helping me develop t-shirts and stuff like that. But for the most part, as far as on the ground level, it's just me. So it's a lot to put together. So I believe we're going to be moving the event date out a little bit more to give it some more time. I want to get there's some people that have offered to be speakers, and I really want to offer that, but they can't do that date. So I want to and the events aren't something I'm going to be able to do all the time. So I want to make sure when I do it, it's really what people need and getting the word out there. And also because it's so new, people are like, what is this? And I want to make sure they have time to adapt and realize what I'm really putting out there before they spend their hard-earned money to come to our event.
Well, yeah, I think that's so important. I think that, the first thing I want to say is I just want to say, congratulations on putting together an event because it is a scary situation. I know that the first time I put on events, I was like, what am I doing? And then you're going to have like, okay, maybe I should have did this or maybe I should have did that or other people telling you what to do. But the thing is first, it's your event. And I'm so happy that at least you're doing it because a lot of people would have just said, oh, I wish I could do this and not even do anything. And so
Yeah.
to start your business or to start your foundation in June and already have an event that you were starting to work on in August, starting to put those fillers out. And now that it's become so big that you have to push it out a little bit, I think is awesome as well. Like that's really great. And I think it's important. I know that a lot of times when people are like, oh, I know one of the things is like, why do we have to pay money for an event? Events take a lot of time. It's a lot of money. And then, you have to sometimes rent the space, rent for yours, I'm not sure if you're going to like the PPE, all the things depends on what it's done. There's a cost associated. And, I think that that's also important, but I love that the network is coming out there. Like there's so many people on the network that now that they hear what you're doing, that they want to reach out and help you. I think that's the power of, and that's one of the things I love is the connections. That's like it should be my word of the year this year because I like when I hear somebody doing something, I'm like, oh, let me connect you with this person. Let me connect you with that one because we need those connections. And that's something that Chat GPT will not do is help you with those connections and say, hey, did you think about this? Or did you think about that? And sometimes it can be overwhelming, but at least it's something that at least it helps you. And if you can't get everything put into this one event, you can always have a later event or you can have add-ons or, different things like that. Or maybe I will do one in spring when it's cooler or not so hot. So
that Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to jump in there, but I so agree with that. Like the heat was another factor too. I was thinking like no one's gonna want to be out here working on a car and learning about air pressure when it's 110 and middle of August. So that's also a big factor. Probably gonna wait a little bit until it gets cooler and then people can enjoy the experience while they're out there a little bit more.
yeah, I love that. And because when it's hot outside, then or even when it's cold outside, really cold, your tire pressure changes. There's little things like that. You could have and those are the things you can explain to people very easily as well. And I love that because those again are just the basics. And if you don't know them, like when you turn your car on and it's really cold outside and it's like, oh, my tire pressure light came on. Oh, it's because of this. And so how can you easily check it just to make sure that you're safe to drive? I love that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's such a simple thing too that people don't know. And then you take it into a tire shop or whatever, and they're going to tell you, oh, you need all 4 tire sensors, and those are so expensive. And I hate it drives me nuts that people will spend that money because I understand they don't know it's hard sometimes, but I want to be able to help prevent that from happening because everything is so expensive right now. You don't need to spend the money if you don't have to.
I love that. Are you still, are you still a mechanic as well, like working in a shop as well?
No. So
Okay.
as my daughter got older, it became like when she was little, like toddler, and she could stay at the daycare, or in kindergarten for whatever, and well, even kindergarten because it's half day. So when she grew out of the daycare preschool stage, it became really difficult to work in the field because they, require you to be there early and to be there all day. And I can't, it was not working when I was overhauling an engine and I was like, oh, my daughter has a stomachache, I got to go. And they look at you like, well, why can't your wife do it? That sort of, that mentality of, I don't have a wife, but I'm saying like
Mhm.
in the
Yeah.
field, it's usually, I guess their mentality is the wife is at home with the kids, the man is out working in the field and working on the engine. So when I would tell that to my bosses, I would get that response of, "Well, don't can't someone else do it?" Well, no, I'm a single parent. Like I got to do this. I got to go. I can't work nights. Well, we need you to work nights. Well, I can't work nights. So okay, well now I have to quit this job and find another one because I can't overhaul engines at night. I have to be within this time frame. So the schedule was not, I couldn't do it with my daughter any longer. So now I'm kind of like an armchair mechanic now. I do technical support for a company. So people's engines break down and they call in and I help them diagnose and fix it over the phone, which allows me to work from home primarily, which is exactly what my daughter needs. And that's what's most important to me is I want to be there for her. I don't want to be in the field all day. I used to, leave for work at 4 a.m. and drop her off with, a friend and whatever, and then get home at like 7 and I'd see her for an hour and I hated that. So could I still do it? Yes, but am I going to? No, because I want to be in her life.
Now I can so relate to that. When I was working at the, for the, as a, in the manufacturing world, which I'm still in the manufacturing world, I'm just in a different section where right now it's just a different aspect. But when you're in a trades area like an automotive, or you're repairing or overhauling engines or cars or like anything, most people start at a certain time. Everybody starts at the same time. You take a lunch at the same time, and then you leave at the same time. So I would leave. I could totally relate to what you're saying. I would leave at 5 in the morning with my kids, drop them off at my mom's house, or wherever, if I was able to have them in daycare, drop them off at daycare, and then I would not again pick them up until 5 o'clock in the afternoon, or like 4 o'clock. Because if they were at the daycare, we'd pick them up at 4:30. If they were not, I wouldn't get home and back in town until 5 o'clock. But then there's days in overtime, and so then I'm working till 7, or wouldn't be home till 7 o'clock. Sometimes 6 days a week. I also was in charge of a time of night shift too. So then there were times where I'm getting the calls at night, and so that's why I kind of had to walk away, and go to a different area. After 17 years at one place, was really almost 18 years at one place. It was really hard, but you have to make those decisions, and um, just to be able to provide for your family, and making sure that you're giving your children, you know, the best parts of you and not the leftovers when you're tired and exhausted because you've been working on something. And it's not an easy
Hmm.
field to work on. It's a strenuous job, as well. You gotta, move things, lift things. It's not easy. You're on your feet all day. You're
Hmm.
bending in awkward positions for a long period of time, or
Hmm.
depending on what you're doing. If you're doing it, underneath on your, I forget what it's called right now, when you
The
roll
creeper.
under the creeper. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 So I love that you made that decision, and I know it probably wasn't easy, but you got to do it. But now that you still have the love, right? You still have the love of fixing things, and even though
Hmm.
you're doing it in a different aspect, to help have this foundation where you're going to have others to help them and empower them, I think is so amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And people should know that they can, still do what they love and be a single parent. And they don't have to stay in, a job that they don't like. Like it is possible sometimes, to do it. And my daughter knows all too well. I would show up to her school events covered in grease in my uniform, and people wouldn't want to sit by me because they smelled and, all that stuff. And that was her, beginning of life experience with the crazy mom that worked on trucks. But it's still good memories.
Yeah, for many years, uh, showing up to stuff with my steel toe boots on still, and
Hmm.
my PPE wrapped, my earplugs wrapped around my neck because I forget to take them off, or you just like you're rushing. You're like, I don't remember everything and stuff like that. So totally can relate to that. I'm so excited for everything that you're building, and I just would love for my listeners to follow you and just to make sure, I know you have your Facebook group so they can follow you, and I just can't wait to see more that is able to come from this, because I can see a lot coming from this, and I just want to say thank you for stepping up to just take on the challenge, because I know just stepping into something that's the unknown. How do I make this work? There's a need, but to make it and put it all together, I just want to say thank you for that as well.
Well, thank you for the acknowledgement and having me on. I love that people are wanting this to be more well known and really liking the idea. It'll help it grow. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. I always like to ask my guests though before we close. I always ask them, what is something, a word, an action, a book they can read, or anything they can do, some action they can take in order to refine and shine today.
I would say the best book I've ever read in that aspect would be Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. I love David Goggins' work and writing, and I really resonate with, I guess, his work ethic. So I think if you're looking for a book to kind of motivate you with self-confidence and stuff like that, that would be a great place to start.
Oh, I love that. I'm actually going to look that up myself. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you having you today as my guest.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Refine and Shine. We hope you find valuable insights and inspiration to fuel your journey of continuous improvement. Remember, the key to success lies in refining your processes and letting your inner brilliance shine. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your feedback is greatly appreciated and helps us reach more listeners like you who are eager to refine and shine in all areas of life. Stay connected with us on social media for updates and additional resources and behind-the-scenes content. We love hearing from our listeners, so feel free to reach out with any suggestions, questions, or success stories you'd like to share. As we wrap up, remember that the power to transform your life lies within you. Keep striving for growth, embracing change, and seeking opportunities to refine your skills. Together, let's continue to shine bright and make a positive impact in the world. Until next time, keep refining and keep shining.